So if we want to convert units that aren't just metric, this works very well for metric units too. But if we want to convert units that are not metric, we can do dimensional analysis, right? That sounds really fancy, but you're just changing units by multiplying by 1. Because if I multiply by 1, I don't change the value of something. But if I multiply by a conversion factor, that's a fancy one, then I can change what it looks like, right? So if we do something very simple that you don't need conversion factors for, but it helps us learn how to do it, we can do it with something like time, right? So if I take 3 minutes, and I want to convert that to seconds, right? You can go, well, duh, we can do that, right? Probably. Maybe you're struggling with that, but probably we can. So then I need a conversion factor. A conversion factor is the thing that relates those two things, right? So if I want minutes and seconds, I want a conversion factor between those. Sometimes it takes a couple conversion factors, right? But I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, right? That is my conversion factor. 4 quarters is $1. 12 inches is a foot. 5,280 feet is a mile, right? Any of those things are conversion factors. Anything with a per in it is a conversion factor. 30 miles per hour, well, that's really a conversion factor between distance and time. If you set up a scale factor in your mask thing, if you're in chemistry and you're doing the mask projects and you set up a scale factor, that's a conversion factor, right? So if I set this up, and I'm going to set it up so that they cancel. So anytime you have something on top and something on bottom that's the same, they can cancel, right? Just like in algebra, if you have x divided by x, the x's cancel out, right? So if I have minutes on top and I put minutes on bottom, they will cancel out. Well, the number that goes with minutes is 1. And so then we'll put 60 seconds on top. And look at that. My minutes cancel. And I do 3 times 60, and it's 180 seconds. And you're like, wow, that's so exciting because I already knew that. Well, great. We can also do that with things where we're less comfortable with those things, right? So we'll smear our blue all over you're not going to be able to see that. So we can do this with feet and inches kind of thing too, right? So I have 3.9 feet. I want to know how many inches that is. So I start by just writing down my given, 3.9 feet. And you're like, I could do this one in my head too, maybe. Well, great. Actually, the people who are like natural at math sometimes have the hardest time picking this up, but we can do 2 and 3 step ones of these anyway, right? So I've got feet here. So I'm going to want feet to go down here and inches to go up here. Now, if I don't have a conversion between those two, I might have to do multiple steps, but we do know a conversion between inches and feet, and it's that 12 inches equals 1 foot. If you set it up so that the units are diagonal and you make sure these numbers are true, don't say 12 feet is 1 inch. That doesn't work, right? If you set these things up so that they are true and the units are diagonal, we'll get it right every time. So then all you have to do is 3.9 feet times 12 inches, and that is 46.8 feet. Right, and that's that. Right, we could also do one where you have to maybe take a couple of steps. So let's say we want to go from 6.1 feet. That's going to be just under 6'1", right? Because there's 12, just over 6'1", I guess. Sorry. So we want to know how many centimeters that is. So we're going to do this one in 2 steps. In our first step, we'll convert from feet to inches, just like we did on the last one. So 6.1 feet, and that black is really hard to see. And so then we would say, well, for every 1 foot, it is 12 inches. Notice how I build that from the bottom up, right? So I set them up to cancel, feet on top, feet on bottom. And then we need to know the conversion between inches and centimeters. Normally, I give out a periodic chart that has all those things on the back, but we've got half the people at home and stuff. So you might have to look one like that up. Not a bad idea to make a list of ones that we commonly use so that you can do those kinds of things, right? And one that we should know is that 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. That is actually the definition of an inch. The government changed that back in the 70s. So for every 1 inch, it's 2.54 centimeters. So my feet have canceled out, my inches have canceled out, and mathematically, I multiply by everything that's on the top, divide by everything that's on the bottom, right? So I do 6.1 times 12 times 2.54, and now we've dealt with something that we're not as comfortable with, I guess, and that is 185.9, so I'll round it to 186 centimeters, right? So 6.1 feet is 186 centimeters, right? We've changed from one thing to another. Let's see, we're at almost 5 minutes.